please address the audience. Ma'am, if you would say a few words. You can move here now.
Good evening. I'll just take 1 minute to drink. Confession and deep sympathies for those who didn't make it. I never made it. For years, I kept trying, hoping that I get third place. Because then I saw chance of getting second. And finally, perhaps, in a wild dream, the first. It didn't happen. Perhaps it was good for me that it didn't happen. It helped me keep my feet firmly on the ground and to look at my work more and more critically. That actually is what I'd like to make this short speech about. I wish you Vivek hadn't used the word address the audience, because it really gave me a huge ball in the stomach. I'm not used to addressing anybody, leave alone the audience. Anyway, lately, for some reason, I have been catapulted into a position that I, as I just confessed, never occupied in my youth. I'm completely floored by the kind of talent that we've just seen displayed. And I know I was a late starter, very late starter. But perhaps those early years of examining my work and seeing where it was going or where it was not going, perhaps laid a foundation for my later work. And then suddenly I found myself catapulted into this kind of position where I'm looking into the dark. I can't see a single face. And I'm asking myself, why did this happen to me? I guess one reason is that in this country, when you arrive at a reasonable age of wisdom, which is 60 plus, then people begin to think that you know enough to shoot your mouth. I realized that I was approaching this position when a young relative suddenly sprung from his seat, sat at my feet, and said, "Tell me something." course, I said, trying to shrink into my chair. And I said, perhaps next time. Then one by one, people sent me things, books, novels. Please read, we want your feedback. 60 plus means that many things are growing feeble, including eyesight. So, beside my bed, these piles kept piling up, these books kept piling up. And there was simply no way that I could escape this flood. Every night I go to bed thinking I was going to have nightmares, which I did. I'd get up in the middle of the night and look at this pile of books and say to myself, there are all those young writers out there and they're waiting for my feedback. I owe it to them. I owe it to the art of writing. Then I got wise to this. I thought, these people are sending books to 10 other eminences like me. So I don't have to take it so seriously. So one by one, very craftily, I did something while I wasn't looking, which was to slide these books off my bedside table into some dark corner of my bookshelf. And it was funny how quickly I forgot about them. But then came shock after shock. It wasn't just reading people's work, it was writing blurbs. And this really got me, because in all these years of befriending words, I have never befriended words in which I can express false opinions. That has always defeated me. So if a young writer sends me a book of short stories and says, please ma'am, go through them and write a blurb, I tell the person, can you call tomorrow? I'm in the middle of cooking right now, my hands are dirty. So maybe tomorrow, by which time I have developed enough courage to say to the person, I'll write a blurb if I like your book. And that is apparently these days not said at all. These days, you are supposed to sit like some Saraswati blessing all young people. I have just heard a brilliant Kannada word, chumba. I think I pronounced it right. Which is what terrible trash. And basically, if you want to say this, you're out of the blurb league. You can't. You're not allowed to. The last time when I actually fell for this was when, and friends always do you in. Friends are not to be trusted. They invite you as chief guest, make you speak. So this old friend, old young friend, sent me her book. And she has a very sweet presence, very sweet voice. And she said, Shanta, please. I didn't have the time because we were face to face. I couldn't say I'm cooking. We were talking. So I said, yes, okay. And she left happily. And I sat most unhappily. Because I thought, oh God, if I don't like these stories, what am I going to say? Started reading, hated the first story. It was terrible. Went to bed on that. Got up next morning, read the next one. Not bad. Then the third, rather good. Then the fourth, back again. But the fifth, very good. And there were 10 stories. So if I could find 5 which were good enough for me to tell the truth about, the blog was done. And I think finding 5 out of 10 stories which I could be truthfully happy about, I think I went a little overboard. I mean, the hyperbole just sort of flowed out of me. And this author looked completely stunned. Hadn't expected any such thing. I'm supposed to be, by the way, this is something that an American interviewer who came to interview me said, I'll just tell you right at the start of public opinion about you. You're tart and you're opinionated. So I guess this young friend expected me to be tart and opinionated. And she was stunned and so happy that she sent me one gift for Diwali, and one gift for Christmas, and one gift for New Year. So that, I think, is where I am. But much as I don't really care for the publicity machine in which writers, artists, filmmakers, particularly writers, are caught nowadays, I'd like to end with a brief conversation I had 2 days ago with a young writer. And she had earlier had a conversation with a very powerful writer from a very powerful place called New Delhi. So, and this poor woman is a Mumbaiker, like me, humble, knowing where she stands. And here she was, face to face with power. I was in the audience and I was watching her maneuvers, how she was negotiating. What she did was to say to the writer, why don't we begin with readings? One reading after another. And the interviewer said, and what about that one? And meanwhile, she was looking at her watch. After the readings, when the author came to rest beside the interviewer who was going to talk to her about her novel, I realized that what the interviewer was doing was precisely what I had done for the blog. She had picked out only those passages, and literally passages, not even chapters, from the book which she had responded to more or less warmly. And what she did was to take off. It was a flight, long analysis of what she thought of this passage. And then she turned to the author and said, what would you say to that? And the author, who is never at a loss for words, she's a friend of mine, so I should know. She said, I don't know. What exactly do you want me to respond to? So the interviewer went on to her next so-called question, again formed in exactly the same way. And at the end of it, there was no conversation. There was just one person saying something, the other person saying, well, really, you've said everything there is to say. I have nothing to say. I met this interviewer, who is herself an author, 2 days ago. And she said, what did you think of that? So I said, you were in a tight spot. I've read the book. And there's very little that you can say. And I congratulate you on finding at least 3 things that you could talk about from the bottom of your heart. So congratulations. And she said, you know, the terrible thing these days about writing is that you never hear the other opinion. At book launches, at lit fests, everywhere, it's rah, rah, rah. But she said, I had one wonderful experience. At a book launch, her own novel, the moderator said very clearly, I am going to present 2 responses to this novel. There's a negative response, here it is, she read it out. There's a positive response, here it is, she read that out. Now, she said, let us talk about this novel. And because both sides had been presented, the audience was like, you know, really sparking with energy. And there was a huge debate, this side, that side. The author said something very significant. She said, at the end of this discussion, I understood my work. Thank you.